Okay, my friends, welcome back. And this time, I am thrilled to have a dear friend with me. Uh, I will tell you a little bit about him, but then he is not shy and he'll tell you a little bit more about himself. So, first of all, my dear friend, now I need my glasses. How do you like that, Jake? I, I need glasses. Okay. My friend is a musician, an author, a playwright. He is written about so many different things. He is a star in his own right of a show that he wrote and performed all over the country, in New York on Broadway, called A Jew Grows in Brooklyn. He is a member of the Brooklyn Jewish Hall of Fame. He has participated and produced in several films, documentaries, Making Light in Terezin, The Last Laugh, Welcome to Where You've Always Been. Let's see what else I can say about my friend Jake. He is the host of his own show, the Jake Ehrenreich Show on JBS, and also on YouTube. And his albums, you can enjoy his albums. My favorite one, in addition to his Yiddish album, is the Christmas album that he put out not long ago. And we'll talk about that as well. So please welcome to my friend's show, my friend, Jake Ehrenreich.
Thank you so much, Mike.
But actually, you're Yankel. To me, you're Yankele.
And to me, you're Muttle.
That's right.
So, oi, Muttle. You remember what that's from?
Yeah, and remember, Shlov, Shemir, my Yankele, my Shene. Jägerlich, die Schwarzen gemacht zu. Anyway, that's Yankele and Mutale. Those are our Yiddish names. First of all, tell me how you're coping, because we are taping this during the coronavirus epidemic here in the United States. I'm in Los Angeles. You are where?
We're in Monroe, New York.
And how has it affected your life, your activities, your work? How are you coping?
Yeah, work? Well, I was retired anyway. So,
Since when were you retired? I don't remember that.
I had a feeling you were going to ask me that question.
Yes.
So I'm going to give you a serious answer. First of all, our life is really great.
I don't want any serious answers from you.
Fine. So what I did was, over the little time where you're at home, I've been perusing the internet a little bit, and I came up with the top 10 jokes on the internet about the coronavirus.
Wonderful.
Because people are crazy. But since this is only a half an hour, I'll do the top 5 jokes. And I came prepared. Here, number 5. I don't find it boring at all to stay at home. But how come one bag of rice has 7,500 grains and the other 7,498? Okay, number 4. There's no laughter. Number 4, the number 4 top. Okay, I was in Walgreens the other day and I saw this guy with his cart was filled to the brim with sanitizers and soaps and everything that people need. And I went over to him. I said, don't be so selfish. You should be ashamed of yourself. People really need that stuff. And he waited and he finally said, look, are you almost done? I really need to get finished stocking the shelves. Number 3. So that was the number 4. This is the number 3. So, New York, it's been terrible here in New York. They banned all live music performances for 60 days. That canceled over 2,000 gigs, affecting 600 working musicians with a total income loss of almost $430. That's for my son, the musician. All right. Number 2. It was a quiet Monday morning in September 2053, but to Arnold, this was no ordinary day. For today was the day he would open the last package of toilet paper his parents bought in the year 2020. All right. And the number 1.
I would put that as number 1.
Well, you have it at number 1.
Going to top that? Okay.
I think this is number 1. The number 1 joke on the internet about coronavirus. I washed my hands so much, I uncovered the answers from a 1962 final exam.
Ay, ay, ay. You know, if it wasn't so serious, it would be, you know, funny. But, you know, we're living through a new reality. We have to get used to it. What's the choice? We have no choice.
You
So,
know, so on a serious level, different people are behaving very, very differently. And Lisa and I are being very careful. We're basically staying at home.
sure.
We haven't gone into a store. We're lucky because we're in a beautiful surrounding. We live on a lake. I take the convertible out. We drive around the farm country and the state park right near us. And then we go out on the boat on the lake. We had a little putt-putt boat. So we're fine. Other people are just living their normal lives. And we're just sort of staying away from them because for us at this point, it seems like there are too many unanswered questions. And luckily, I don't have a job I have to go to. Of course, I'm unemployed. I mean, what are you going to do? We are going to do a second season of the Jake Ehrenreich show from home, like what you're doing.
Right, right.
With all the stuff, I'll sing and I'll do the whole Michigas. But basically, you can't I had so many performances canceled, but we're grateful. Our son is in Boston. He's going to school online and he's teaching online. So we're very, very grateful. And we feel a lot of empathy for others who don't have it as lucky.
Well, that's what Tsiona and I always say how lucky we are compared to so many people that are suffering greatly during this time. And we don't know how long it's going to last. And we just have to, adjust and be responsible and be safe. The frustration always is especially with our grandkids. Wait, you'll see what it's like not to be able to hug your grandkids. I mean, that is the greatest frustration, but we have no choice. As we say in Hebrew, ein breira. There's no choice. Tell me a little bit about I was just mentioning your recording. We'll talk about the show in a minute, but you released a recording, was it last year?
Yeah, I think it was, maybe it's pushing 2 years. It could be pushing 2 years now. The time goes.
Yeah.
The time life.
What brought you to record an album of Christmas songs? And it's beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. So I always had this sort of joke in my mind. I remember many years ago, as a young musician, I was on the road with a musician. He always liked odd things. And he said one day he wanted to have a truck and paint on the side of it, Vincent's Furniture and Pizzeria, just because it's absurd, right? And then I came up with this idea sometime in my life. I wanted to do, you remember the Time Life series of books and recordings? Time Life,
Before my time.
Yes, okay.
Before my time.
So I said, one day I'm going to record Time Life's treasury of Jewish Christmas songs. It was like a joke, right? But it would be all of the Christmas songs written by Jewish songwriters. I happened to mention this. I went to see a friend of mine, a wonderful world-class piano player named Roger Kellaway. And I went to see him perform, and he's, a very accomplished musician, did all the music for your Barbra Streisand movies, lots of Grammys, a really, really great jazz player and performer. And I happened to be talking about this. I don't remember why. He said, I would do that with you. I said, what? He said, that sounds great. I would do that. I would love to do a project with you. You want to do that? I'll do it with you. All of a sudden, it changed from like kind of a joke into a real thing. Because now we had Roger's trio, and I really we wrote great arrangements for these beautiful songs that Jewish songwriters wrote. And I always found that so interesting. Growing up, I happened to love Christmas music. I mean, I just loved it. I don't know anybody who didn't, but I really did. And it spoke to me, not only because of the music, the lyrics really spoke to me. And when I found out so many were written by Jewish songwriters, because they were Hamish. The songs, it was all about family and home and tradition.
Oh my God, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. I mean, what could be more of a Christmas song than White Christmas, written by
Irving Berlin, of
Irving Berlin?
course.
So, well, and what's the name of the album, just so people will know?
A treasury of Jewish Christmas songs. And by
Well,
the way, do you know that? So you know that Irving wrote that in Beverly Hills, right? And he was talking about being in the North, right, Northeast. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
mhm.
But what you might not know, and if you listen to the song closely, the song is more about dreaming than it is about Christmas, right? It gives you this very dreamy feeling. Well, he and his wife lost their firstborn son at like 6 weeks old on Christmas Day
Mhm.
in 1925 or something like that. And when he wrote this song, he was thinking about that. But for every year that they were alive, on that day, they went to the son's grave and dropped a wreath. And then their children did it after them, after they passed. So how much was that in his mind? Somewhere in the background when he was writing this. All of these stories songs have the most interesting stories behind them. Fascinating.
And the effect that it had during the Second World War on every GI at Christmas time.
I'll be home for
That
Christmas.
that song, to be dreaming of a white Christmas, to be home. Wow.
Do you know, by the way, that we did a whole Jake Ehrenreich show just with the record, just doing every song on the record.
And the show is coming back, right? You're going to come back
Yeah.
another season.
That one's up there, though. It's called the Winter Holiday Special.
Right.
Because we couldn't call it the Christmas special.
Let's talk a little bit about Barnum, because I first met Jake when I was doing Barnum in 1981. I came to replace Jim Dale on Broadway, and Jake was in the orchestra at the time, because he's a wonderfully accomplished musician, in addition to being a great entertainer, writer. But he was playing. There wasn't a pit at the time. The orchestra was on stage, and
Right.
he was playing. You were playing drums.
Playing drum. I was actually subbing the show for a friend of mine named John Retzecker. I was subbing at that time. I was subbing 4 different Broadway shows. Dancing, they're playing our song Barnum, and when I came in, when Jim left, and they told
Jim
me
Dale. When Jim Dale left the show, yeah.
they left, and they told me you were coming in. I said, wait a minute, it couldn't be the Mike Burstyn that I know, right? I mean, it couldn't be that guy, because the Mike Burstyn that I know, when I was growing up, my favorite record, and you know this story,
Yeah.
my favorite record and my family's favorite record was you and Chava Alberstein singing Yiddish folk songs. And by the way, in honor of you, what's behind me, this is part of my father's Yiddish library.
Oh.
When he passed away, I have a library in my home, and one complete wall are all the books that he didn't give to the Yiddish library in Boston, and said, no, these are very special books and you need to keep them. So in honor of being with you and the Yiddishkeit that you meant to my family, I came into the library. These are all my dad's Yiddish books.
Yeah.
So when I realized it was you, the Mike Burstyn that we knew and loved so much.
Well, I was the first Israeli to star on Broadway, and I got that part. It was crazy, but over 100 major stars wanted to replace Jim Dale, who had won the Tony Award for that show, and I got it. It was amazing.
You were marvelous. You were marvelous, and those were really big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
I could tell you, we thought, like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And who is this guy? Right? I mean, it was insane. You were wonderful in the show. And then I told my parents, and they were very excited. So my whole family came. And by this time, my mother had fairly advanced Alzheimer's disease. And even my sisters were beginning to show signs of it. They weren't so bad yet, but all of the women in my family eventually got early Alzheimer's disease and passed from it. But I'll never forget, and I'll never forget you for it, how wonderful you were to my family after the show. You invited us up to your dressing room. And my mother was, not appropriate. You were so loving and beautiful. And I'll never forget that as long as I live. I'll always hold you very deep in my heart.
Thank you. It was, it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And you do what's right. And we always talk about that, but thank you so much for that. I wanted to just ask you a little bit.
But I want to let your audience know, when you say it was the right thing to do, I'm going to tell the other part of the story. So then when I was a performer, we were performing together at the place on the Upper West Side, I forget, the Symphony Space.
Right.
Your mother was there.
Yeah.
Your mother was there. And I went and told your mother this story, and you looked at me and said, I have no recollection of that. Because you did it because it was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You would have done it. Yeah, you did it for me, but you would have done it for anyone because that's who you are. So anyway, okay, enough.
You know what we call in Yiddish menschlich.
Yeah.
You got to be a mensch. You got to be a decent human being, and it costs you nothing. It really doesn't. Speaking of your father, I mean, you are a second generation Holocaust. Your father was a Holocaust survivor. And your Yiddishkeit is so important in your life. How was it growing up in that? I mean, you talk about it during the show, during Jew Grows in Brooklyn, but was it very Jewish upbringing, or did your father try and get away with it and get away from it and have you grow up as an American kid and not have that stigma of the Holocaust?
Oh, I had stigma, but I had more. So my father never spoke of his experience ever. My mother, every day when I would come home from school, she'd be crying at the table and she'd want to talk about her family. They lost everybody. So between the two of them, it was an entirely different, situation. Of course, I should say later, my father became a great Shoah scholar. He wrote books and he ran the Shoah commemorations. He made up for it, for what he didn't do as a kid, when I was a kid. But he just, he thought his job was to get a job, support the family, but my parents called me Yankee.
Yeah.
And for someone who wanted to be Mickey Mantle, it was rough. When my mother yelled out, we played in the street and, it would be Mark, Gary, Peter, Yankee. It's like, oh.
My sister my twin sister and I, when we were 8 years old, we came to Israel to perform Yiddish theater with my parents, and we had to go to school. And so my sister was given a Hebrew name. Instead of Zisele, I was Matala, she was Zisele, but that didn't work in Israel at the time. The official view of Yiddish was really negative. They were trying to establish Hebrew as the official language of the state, and so they fought against the Yiddish. But we had to go to school, so they changed my name from Motale to Mordechai, which is actually my real name. Later, it became Mike, and my sister to Yochevet. And as I remember, every morning when we used to go to school, there was a friend of hers who used to stand outside our apartment and call my sister to come down. And it was, I still remember the sound of it. She would call out, Yochevet, Yochevet. I will never forget that name. So let me ask.
Do you know that that's my sister's name?
Yochevet?
I had two sisters. One was Yochevet Libe.
Really?
We called her Joni. The other one, you know how your parents didn't want to call you the name because it was too sort of Yiddishy?
Yeah.
So they made it different. So my other sister's name is Golda Frimet. You know what my parents called her? Wanda. You know why?
No.
My parents were she was born in a labor camp in Siberia. And the Russians were, if you had a Golda name, you're screwed. Wanda, somebody or other, was a famous Russian poet. So they called her Wanda, and she grew up. Her name is Wanda. I say that in the show. My sister Golda Frimit, also known as, and everyone goes Goldie. I said Wanda.
Yankele,
Yeah.
since our time is almost up, we have to have a certain time limit on these Zoom shows.
Yeah.
Want to ask you about the future, what the future holds for you. And I always ask one question of my friends: if you could name one person, and I know what the answer is going to be, that was your inspiration in life, the person that inspired you, who was your inspiration? I think I know, obviously, what you're going to say, but maybe I'm wrong. Who was it?
There's no other response. My father.
Yeah.
I feel so grateful for that you could say that. It's not like I didn't have challenges with my father. It's funny because I have to have a serious talk with my son later today. And I wrote him, I said, Dovey, believe me, I know it's no fun to talk to your dad. For years, the last thing I wanted to do was have like a conversation with my father, but you got to do it. But parents teach by example.
Oh.
And that's, I think, how my father taught me. At my bar mitzvah, some people, non-Jews, they were competitors of my father in the furniture business. I remember them surrounding me, 3 or 4 of them. And they looked at me, they said, be like your father. Your father is an honest man. Can't get better than that.
Not only that, but ultimately they say we become our parents, and we can understand them so much better. Yankele, thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll do this again.
And let me tell everyone, you talked about my show, the Jake Ehrenreich Show. People should go and watch your performance on my show.
Yes.
Because that is insanely good.
We did a beautiful show together, and it was fun. And all your shows are great, and look forward to the next season. And thank you so much, my friends out there, for joining me. We'll see you next time. And remember, my motto has always been Carpe Diem, seize the day. So, shalom.